Now, AI agents are getting seriously cool. I'm about to call a company support line live. Just listen to this.
Thanks for calling Nimbus. This is Karen. How can I help you today?
Hi, Karen. I'm looking to upgrade my plan to Enterprise because I think I'm hitting my API limits. Can you help me out here?
Absolutely, I can help with that. Could I grab your member number to pull up your account?
Sure. My membership number is 7295.
Got it, 7295. Let me pull that up for you. Let me pull up your account real quick. I see you're on the Pro plan at $79 a month, renewing on July 5th. You've made about
that's perfect. Can you tell me about the Enterprise plan? Is that going to be better for me?
Yeah. The Enterprise plan would definitely give you more room. It includes 1 million API calls per month. It runs
okay. That's perfect. Let's go ahead and upgrade to that plan.
Just to confirm, you want to upgrade to the Enterprise plan at $199 a month?
Yeah, let's do that.
Updating your membership now. All set. You're now on the Enterprise plan at $199 a month.
Yep, I see the change. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
You're welcome, Sonny. Have a great day.
And there we have it, guys. That was not a human. That was completely AI. Every single word. It looked up my account, quoted exact prices, and changed my membership in the database live mid-conversation. You literally watched it happen live on the dashboard. And today, I'll be showing you how to build voice AI agents just like this. Agents that pick up the phone instantly, sound completely human, and actually do things inside of your system. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to ship an AI receptionist to your own business, your clients, all in the same day. So they'll never miss a customer call again. And if you are someone that runs a business that takes calls, you need this. In fact, 62% of calls to small businesses go unanswered, with 85% of people having hung up on a press 1 for billing menu. Those customers don't like to wait around. They simply just call your competitor. This way, however, there's no menus, no hold music, just a conversation where things get done. This video is sponsored by Bland AI. Now, the agent you just saw, it ran on Bland AI. So a big shout out to the awesome tech these guys have built over there. They handle around 3.5 million calls a week for over 250 enterprise customers. And they have over $100 million raised and are in Series C funding. We're talking about some serious infrastructure here. So the question is, why does it sound so human? How did they do that? You see, most voice AI is 3 companies in a trench coat. One turns your speech into text, another writes the reply, and a third speaks it out. And every sentence that runs through that does a round trip through all 3. And that's that robotic fake lag that you hear everywhere else. And it's that gives it all away. Whereas Bland built the whole stack in-house for one job, phone calls. And their target is simple, sub-half-second responses. That means that your brain just accepts it's a real person, not to mention the little background office effects and distortion they even add in. And because they own every layer, Bland can run fully and completely self-hosted. Now, that's actually a really big deal, and it's one of the big reasons that separates them from the rest. If you need that, it's available on the Enterprise plan. So if you're in healthcare, finance, or legal, that one feature alone makes voice AI possible for you today. And for everyone else who doesn't need self-hosting, they can build in the cloud, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. And the pricing is simple. It's 14 cents a minute, and it's free to give a try for yourself today. So destroy that like button, grab a coffee, and let me show you how you can build this thing from scratch. Let's dive in. So the first thing you want to do is head over to the first link in the description and sign up to Bland AI. Now, once you're there, you'll head over to the dashboard. And what's really cool about this is that whilst, yes, you can go to the left-hand side and set every single thing up yourself, you can actually use Norm, which is their AI agent, which actually sets it all up, and it does an incredible job of doing it from start to finish. So to make things easy, let's go ahead and get ourselves a dummy scenario. So let's take this dental clinic, for example. I literally just used AI to build something quickly called Smileside Dental Clinic, right? So here's a bunch of information about it, the location, opening hours, appointments and bookings, and all of their services, prices, the insurance networks, everything that you need to know, okay? I want to make a receptionist, which can basically take calls for this, has full understanding of everything around the Smileside Dental Clinic, and then can actually book appointments for our customers onto our Calendly. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out how we can do that. Now, the first way you can do it is obviously go to the Agents tab. Now, if we were to build it this way, we can either click on Create Persona, and I've actually done this entirely already for us. So I'm going to run you through a pre-built one, then I'll show you how we can use Norm to do all of the setup for us, okay? So let's take the dental clinic receptionist, for example. When we clicked on Create, it would have taken us to this page right here. You can put in a display name, describe the persona's role and responsibilities, and then you can give it a voice. So the voice is quite a fun part. You can go through pretty much test these for yourself. So in this case, I can click on this and you can actually hear out a few samples.
This is Blandy. How can I help today?
I personally keep finding myself coming back to Karen because it just sounds very authentic. So give this a listen.
Hey, this is Blandy. How can I help today?
It has a bit more of a distorted, real phone call sounding nature. So I prefer to use this as opposed to a lot of the other ones. But if you were to listen to some of the other ones, you'll see that they're very much high definition, clear voices.
Hey, this is Blandy. How can I help today?
So it really depends on what kind of effect that you want to give off, okay? So in this case, we're happy with Karen, so we're going to go ahead and select her. Then you can basically choose the language, and it is multilingual, right? So the languages which work best are the ones listed here, but it has actually got support for a ton of other languages. But in this case, we're going to keep it on fluent. So you could literally talk to this agent in English, Spanish, German, for example, and it will go ahead and reply to you in that language. And then what's really cool is you can actually add different sound effects. So like office in the background. So it sounds a little bit more authentic than just a crystal clear voice coming through. Now, obviously we need ways to communicate with our agent once it's up and running. This is where we can go ahead and actually add it to our inbound numbers. So getting it actually set up to receive calls is super easy. We can just click this, click on add phone number, and you can actually purchase a new number here for as little as $15 a month. Okay, so you can pretty much put your area code in, purchase a number, and then from that number, put that on the website, and every time someone calls in, they will access and actually reach the agent. But while you're testing, you don't actually need to do that. You can actually simply go ahead and just press this button right here to test it. And you can also go ahead and chat to it as well. It also even supports SMS, which I thought was really, really cool. So your customers can actually text in and speak to your agent. So 3 different ways of communicating with the agent. So let's dive into a couple of the other tabs, right? Now in the behavior prompt, we can go ahead and describe the prompt itself. So this is basically what our agent should do, its personality, its motivation, all of that stuff. And then of course, we've got a couple of tweaking settings here. So in this case, we can basically have it wait for the user to pick up and say hello before it starts talking, or you can go ahead and turn that off. And what I actually really liked is you saw in the demo earlier, there's something natural about being able to interrupt an agent. If we couldn't interrupt it, it doesn't feel like a real agent. So in this case, interruption threshold is quite cool. If you want it to have a faster interruption threshold, so the quicker I speak and it kind of cuts off, you can lower this number. Otherwise you can make it higher in case, it sounds a bit too robotic. And then naturally, people might still understand that this is an AI agent that they're speaking to and want to get escalated to a real human. And that's where you can go ahead and configure a transfer. That's actually part of their enterprise plan, which I thought was really, really cool for seriously big companies out there, but you can go ahead and mess around with that one as well. And then we have things like the conversational pathways, which we're going to dive into in a sec, skills, as well as knowledge. And this is one of my favorite parts. So this is where we can actually connect things like that PDF to our knowledge base, and we can link it inside of here, as well as basically creating tools, which I'm going to show you afterwards as well, and toggling things like memories. So that way, if the same person was to come back to the chat, it would remember things about their previous interaction. Okay, and then we've got a few more things like security and analysis that you can go ahead and look into yourself. But let's go ahead and actually create our own agent ourselves. Now, before we do that, I want you to go to the knowledge base and I want you to upload your information. So in this case, we're going to click on add sources, and I would simply drag and drop that document into here. Okay, now I've already done that, in which case we can see it already scraped. You can see 12 indexed sections. Okay, so it reads the document and then it actually found 4 different sections. And what's really cool here is that we can see when agents are actually referring to this document or have been asked questions against it. So if we go to the query logs tab here, we can actually see I've asked a bunch of different test questions. For example, do you accept Delta insurance? I can click this and it can see that it actually answered it and it gave the results as well as confidence scores. So I thought this was really cool because you can upload basically your entire knowledge base here, as well as things like the website URL, different bits of text, as well as integration. So in this case, if you want to connect your Notion, Google Docs, any other integration, you can do that as well. So in this case, we've got our first bit of information set in, the knowledge base. Now I want to go ahead and create the smile side dental receptionist. So I'm going to show you how to do it through Norm. And this way I thought was really, really cool. So you can see I previously had a chat here. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new chat here. And I'm going to go ahead and speak to it. I'm talking to it through Super Whisper, which in case you're wondering. I want to create an AI receptionist for my dental clinic smile side. The receptionist should answer the phone as Sally and greet the customer, and then ask how they can help them. And then they should respond to any of the user's questions or queries. You have access to the knowledge base where I've uploaded a PDF, including all of the information about the smile side clinic. And then most importantly, I want you to be able to book appointments using our Calendly setup. Cool. And then we're going to kick off the chat. So what Norm is now going to do, this is going to take our requirements and then it's basically going to see what's available. So in this case, look, the knowledge base you uploaded, your Calendly tool setup, available voices, and any existing secrets. Now, while this is happening, you can see it's actually just jumping straight into gear. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my Calendly. Now you can use Calendly or you can use cow.com. In this case, I'm actually using cow.com. And the first thing I needed to do was actually create an event type. So these are some default ones. We're not going to use these. But over here, you can see I created a dentist consultation for a routine checkup and cleaning. Okay, just a sample one, 60-minute slot. And then I'm basically, as you can see over here, it can actually create the bookings for us. All you need to do for this part is just get an API key that we can go ahead and give to Bland AI. So depending on which app you're using, in this case, I'm only using cow.com, but you can go ahead and grab an API key just like that, and then go back to the norm chat. Okay, so first thing we can see is it's actually creating a bunch of details. So it actually done a nice little prompt. So you are Sally, booking an appointment for the caller at Smileside Dental Clinic. In this case, it will start collecting information. So we can see it's got information such as full name, phone number, email address, reason for the visit, and it asks them for a day that they want to basically come in. So we're going to let this run for a while, and then we're going to come back in just a sec. Okay, so the agent is now done. Let's have a look at what it's come up with. And one thing that's really cool I want you to pay attention to is it actually tests the entire conversation flow. So once it builds the agent, it's actually going to go ahead and run through everything and actually test the responses that come back. In this case, it found that it was actually hallucinating, so it needs to fix that so it goes to the actual knowledge base instead of guessing, and it will be able to fix all of these things on its own. I've actually built this out a few times. So a couple of things that I really like. Once it comes to a point where it asks us for input, it usually pops up with these nice placeholders. So in this case, it needs an event type ID. So as I'm using cow.com, we can actually go ahead and actually get the event ID by going to the dentist consultation. So in this case, I can go ahead and just grab, for example, a link, or I can just do this. So in the event types up here, I can grab that and I can just basically paste that. It's actually just the ID it needs, but we can go ahead and just basically pop that in. So it actually just needs the event ID, which is that one. But first we need to let this finish and then we can go ahead and submit the answer. As you can see, it actually already built out for cow.com. So we can actually just carry on watching it proceed with the testing. And you can see it actually tested very successfully. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive at the receptionist it actually built. So the first thing is we can see the actual agent persona that it created. So Sally, Smileside Dental Receptionist, amazing. And then it actually created a pathway. And this is what I really like. So you've got the agent, which resembles the AI receptionist. And then we've got the pathway, which are basically these nodes where it can route the call in different directions, okay? So as you can see, it created all of the starting points, the ending points, and different nodes. Like you can answer questions, collect booking details, book appointments, or wrap up, okay? So let's go ahead and actually, we can give it a test. But before we do, I want to show you pathways. So if we look at the pathway, Smileside Dental Receptionist, okay? And then what you can actually do is go ahead and click on edit. And then we're actually going to go to this drop down and we're going to go to production. Now, if we zoom out, we can actually get a nice little view of everything that's going on. So we have our greeting. Then if the user asks a general question, it routes to answering a question, which is tapped into the knowledge base, which is perfect. And notice how it set everything up for me. So yes, you can do this all manually, but I didn't have to. It set everything up for me. And then based on what was basically being asked, so if the user was done with the questions, and then route them to a different location. Otherwise, if they want to book, it'll route them to collect their booking details. And once the details are collected, it will proceed to book the appointment. Okay. After they book the appointment, it'll wrap up the call and then end it. Okay. So this is really, really nice, basically having a look at all of this. And of course, you can also edit it from here. Go ahead and add in, for example, human transfers and everything like that. But again, the thing that I really liked to set this all apart for me personally was that we could do all of this from the AI itself. So from Norm itself, we were able to do all of this. It just made it way easier, okay? Now let's look at the actual agent itself. So it created Sally. And over here, we can see Sally's been given the Adriana voice, English, no background noise for this one, dental clinic receptionist. And then of course, we haven't got any inbound number at the moment. Let's go to behavior. We can see the prompt has been pre-filled for us. And the two main jobs are answer caller questions about the clinic and 2, help callers book appointments. Perfect. Let's look at knowledge. You can see, yes, it connected the sources. Perfect stuff. And one little tweak I'm going to do before I actually run this is I'm going to change the voice to Karen, like I mentioned earlier. So we're going to save the changes. Now it's going to end updated. We're going to promote this one to production. Now, of course, I can test it myself, but what's going to be more fun and more useful for you guys is actually testing it by using Norm. So in this case, I'm actually going to say, go ahead and test out the entire flow and see if a booking can be made. Let's go ahead and close this one for a sec. Okay, so let's see it test it for itself. We can see it's actually going ahead and pretending to call in. And then it says how much is a first time visit. And then you can see that it's now not retrieving the knowledge base. So this was a previous fail that I saw earlier. and it's going to go ahead and diagnose it itself now. And this is really cool because basically it will self-diagnose, self-heal, and be able to fix all of those things yourself. So you don't need to learn how to use Bland AI in and out. You can go in, get granular if you need to, but Norm is basically going to set this all up for you. Okay, so it made a couple of changes. Now it's going to retest. So in this case, again, it's going to start calling in. So it says, thanks for calling. This is Sally. How can I help? How much is a first-time visit? And then it says the knowledge base fix worked. So it fixed its hallucination. And now it's going to go ahead and try to book an appointment. So in this case, it gave its all of the information. So the phone number, its name, its email. And then it said for the first patient exam, it wants to book on August 11th at 10 a.m. And then you can see it went ahead and used a tool. So this is a really cool part here. So we're going to go ahead and show you that in a sec. But it found that the tool wasn't fired off correctly. So in this case, it's going to go ahead and fix the snippet. So this is actually the tool call that is now failing. But speaking of tool calls, remember your agents can use tools. So if we go ahead and check while this is fixing it, I'm going to go ahead and head over to tools. And we can see I've got a couple of tools from the previous demo, and especially the introduction video that I showed you earlier. But if we go over here, we can see book appointment Calcom, right? So this is actually when it books an appointment at cal.com, and it has a couple of variables which the agent will fill out. So patient name, visit reason, patient email, phone, and preferred date and time. And then it's got some connections. So in this case, these are external connections. So even if we were to click on new here, you can actually connect a connection here. So I think it's done it the coding route. Okay. So in this case, you can either do a connection or it's done it via an actual coding route. So this just goes to show that you can either do it like purely coding, so it can actually connect to any API, or it could use the actual connection itself. So we can actually get it to change that if we find that it's breaking, but right now it's using cow.com API version 2 and then handling it this way, okay? Now, once you've gone ahead and built out your agent with Norm, it will go ahead and test the entire thing out, which I thought was really, really cool. Now, to not blow through my quota all over again, I've actually done this once before, and I created the entire receptionist. And what it came out with after that Norm chat was this. So here we have our chat with Karen. Now, Karen is the voice of the agent. However, the entire prompt, we actually didn't give it a name when we ran through it this time, but you can feel free to do that yourself. Now, if we go over to the knowledge side, we've got connected sources, which means that it can clearly see it has access to everything. But let's go ahead and give this a full run through. And what I'm going to do to go ahead and test a couple of key points is I'm going to actually pull up the entire PDF next to this as we go ahead and book it, okay? And to make sure that it actually all works and proof of everything working in tandem, I'm going to pull open my cow.com, and here we can see I have 3 different events, okay? So make sure that it actually does book. We're going to go ahead and keep that open on the side, okay? So on my right hand side, I'll have the chat. So in this case, we can see the chat. And on my left hand side, we've got the document where I can basically just query against it to see that it's not hallucinating, okay? So let's do this. So I'm going to go ahead and start the chat right now.
Good morning, Smileside Dental. How can I help you today?
Hi, I want to come in on Tuesday around 4 p.m. Are you open then?
We are open until 5 on Tuesdays, so 4 o'clock would work great.
Perfect.
What is your name so I can look that up for you?
Okay, my name is Sunny, and I'm looking to get a teeth cleaning appointment. How much would that actually cost for a routine cleaning checkup?
That would be $120.
Okay, that's great. I can do that. And I'm also maybe looking at a root canal.
Canals range from $850 to $1,200 depending on the tube.
Okay, perfect. And I've actually got insurance. My insurance is MetLife. Do you guys cover that?
Yes, we are in network with MetLife.
So actually, I actually want to book tomorrow at 2 p.m. if that's available.
Let me check what's open that day. Yes, 2 o'clock is open. What's your email address so I can send the confirmation?
Yeah, my email address is sunny@gmail.com.
Great. And what's the best phone number to reach you at?
My phone number is 512-544-1234.
Great. Let me get that booked in for you now. All set, Sunny. You're booked for a cleaning tomorrow at 2 o'clock p.m. You'll get an email confirmation shortly. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Just to confirm, you're all set for tomorrow, July 6th at 2 o'clock p.m. Feel free to call us anytime if you need anything else. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. That was perfect. Okay. So as you can see, the reason why it says Sunny Sanga here is because this is just my default template. However, it actually did a perfect booking here. So it actually booked me tomorrow. Today is the 5th of July. So tomorrow, 6th of July at 2 p.m., which is exactly what we wanted. And we can dive into this a bit deeper as to how it was working by clicking on pathways. Click over to the dental clinic receptionist. And the one that I spoke to was the production. Okay. So if we head over to production, I'm going to go ahead and just visualize this. Okay. So if we go ahead and just straighten out, you can either do it horizontally or vertically. But if we went to go ahead and look at this one right now, it's saying I can't change it because this is live, which is absolutely fine. But in this case, you can see like a greeting came through, and then you can go to the receptionist tab or a booking flow, depending on how the conversation goes. Now, if we go into the booking, you can actually see there are going to be two tool calls over inside the booking. So if we go to tools, I have a book appointment and a check availability. So both of these were created all from Norm. Okay, so just by chatting with Norm, I didn't create any of these. It was able to do all of this. And as you can see, it goes and makes a post request to api.cow.com with the API key, goes ahead and pre-fills everything through the agent side. And it did all of this on its own just through a simple Norm chat, okay? Same with checking availability. When I asked if the time was available, it was able to go ahead and make the request and then basically go ahead and proceed with the entire call flow. So you guys can see for yourself, just from a Norm chat, it was able to build this entire pathway over here with our agent. We can go ahead and customize our agent individually in like a granular setting by going to the agents tab. And then I even used the knowledge base to correctly give the pricing, information, opening hours, and all that good stuff. And then of course, once you're ready, you can simply go over to your agent itself. Basically, like I said before, go to add inbound numbers, purchase a number, and then there you have it. You literally have an AI receptionist that is ready to go and answer calls. Now, of course, we have a few extra additions, right? We can actually toggle on conversational memory, which is really cool for chat as well as for voice calls. And speaking of chat, you can go ahead and test the chat over here. But I want to go ahead and show you something which is way cooler. If you go down to the left side over here and go down to the web widget, you can create an entire widget and attach it to one of the pathways. So I showed you the pathway that we attached it. I've already created the widget and we click into it here. And you can see you actually get a small script that you can just pop into your website, and this will have the entire chat flow. So now, for example, if I was to talk to this, I could say, for example, I need a teeth cleaning tomorrow at 4 p.m. And then you can see it's going to go ahead and follow this same chat flow. So in this case, I've got 4 p.m. open tomorrow. Could I get your full name? Sure, Sunny Sanga. And I could say, for example, sunny@gmail.com. And then let's just give our number. If I was just trying to accelerate this, 512-555-1234. Right, so I've just given all my details. Do you have a preferred dentist? No preference, no pref. Right, and you can see very, very quickly. All right, I'm booking you in a cleaning tomorrow at 4 p.m. You're getting info confirmation shortly. Thanks. Okay. Now let's see if it did it. You're all set at 4 p.m. Have a great day. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit a refresh on cow.com, and we should be able to see that a booking was made. Perfect. 4 p.m. tomorrow between Sunny. Right, so it's literally with myself. Right, in this case. But we can see this one was booked through our voice agent. This one was booked through the chat widget. And all you would need to do is literally go ahead and copy this, pop it into your website, and you would have this little pop-up down here, which is really, really clean. You can customize it, do a bunch of stuff as well. And if we go to the appearance, yeah, you can see here for yourself, the little widget icon in the corner, you can customize that, as well as all these little details, like the little dentist receptionist support. You can put a powered by Bland if you want, or the colors and so forth, as well as webhook is really a nice little addition that I liked. So you can actually go ahead and stick a webhook here. So after a conversation is done, for example, it will go ahead and post some information over there. You could do a couple of things like the end of conversation or all of messages, for example, okay, in case you wanted to have any kind of knock on afterwards. And even allow domains to make sure that this widget won't work anywhere else besides your website. And think about how powerful that is. This could be for a client. This could be for your own website. It just enables you to do a ton without having to build things from scratch. Okay, so that's how you build the agent through the dashboard, as well as, you know, things like the web widget. But how can we go ahead and then use this, for example, inside a code? So if I want to build something custom, for example. So in this case, I spoke to Norm previously, and I actually created two tools. So in this case, if we go over to my tools, you can see I've got a ton of tools here, but I've got Nimbus Update Membership and Nimbus Check Account. Okay, so these are two tools that I basically created previously. And you can see what I want you to pay attention to is the request URL. Okay, so in this case, that wonderful Spaniel Convex site. So this is just a Convex HTTP endpoint, right? So I've got these two endpoints that are live. right? And all we're doing is we've simply got these variables, the reason, the caller name, the membership number. This is for checking my account details. And then we've got one for updating the account details. And then in order to go ahead and update the details, all you need to do is go over to the documentation. And you've got, firstly, the documentation is very, very clean, as well as they've got agent friendly docs. But if you go over to the Web Agent SDK, you can see they've got a really neat little client library, okay? So you simply want to go ahead and install this into your project, and then you can basically go ahead and initialize a chat from the front end, okay? So what you want to do typically is basically have an authorization endpoint. So this can be on Next.js, and I'll show you how I've done my one. So in this case, firstly, the two endpoints you can see are very, very simple over here. These two endpoints right here are built with Convex, and by simply having a Convex HTTP action, it will deploy a URL similar to this, okay? So depending on which environment I'm on, but basically these two are live right now. And all I'm doing is I basically went to norm and I said, okay, I have one endpoint here and one endpoint here, and this is what they do. And I basically want you to go ahead and build the appropriate tool for it, okay? So you can do it like that with norm. You can even use the MCP server, which I'll go over in just a sec, right? But let's say, for example, the demo you saw in the beginning of this video, right? I had a bunch of stuff happening there. How did I get that to work? I was using the client SDK. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and show you where we use that. If you go over to the page, for example, you can see in my code, I've simply got a use web chat React hook. Basically, when we need to go to the get token, we simply make a call to our own backend, and this backend can look however we want, right? So in this case, it could be an Express backend, it could be a Convex backend, it could be a Next.js server action, a Next.js API route, whatever you prefer. And then it would be as simple as literally doing bland.admin client, and you basically just create a session token, and then that token gets returned back to that web chat. And then over here, you simply have the following buttons. So you can basically have the web chat visible, you can have the call state, the start and stop buttons to actually initialize a web session call. And they've got tons of examples that you can pretty much either do yourself or give to your agents, right? So like I was saying before, it is LLM friendly. So just by going ahead and giving the agent this, they'll get basically the entire documentation to go ahead and reference if they want to go ahead and build it for you. And I did mention previously that they had an MCP. So if you go over to search and type in MCP, you'll hit the MCP server. So you can pretty much go ahead and install this. And then everything that we were getting norm to do, you can use your favorite coding harness to go ahead and do it. So I did this with Claude Code. Basically connect the MCP up to Claude Code or Codex or Anti-Gravity, whatever one that you prefer. And then it has full access to actually creating things on your behalf. So this could mean creating agents, pathways, personas, all of that stuff it now has access to simply by going ahead and hooking up the MCP server, right? And another thing I'd also recommend is if you are going to get your agent to do the driving and basically code for you, I always recommend installing the Bland CLI, right? The Bland CLI is one of those things that, again, you've got the TTS, which is more for like the lightweight changes, but the CLI is always going to be the full access. And of course, do that in a safe way. However, if you give your agent access to the CLI, it will have full CLI access on your behalf to make changes to your Bland AI account. And by doing that, I was able to go ahead and have an agent and was able to build this out for me and debug it on every single front. So it was able to debug the Convex side because it had Convex CLI, able to debug Bland AI because it had access to the MCP plus the Bland CLI. And then basically it can get you to where you need to get to very, very simply, right? And what was really cool is you saw things change initially in the beginning of that demo, right? When I asked it to basically change my membership type from Pro to Enterprise. And it did that all because it simply hit this endpoint and passed in the data that we requested, okay? So this endpoint, like I said before, we've got two. We've got the account and the membership. This one right here would have been for updating the membership. And that is effectively how you're able to do things from your agent at Bland, right? So in this case, I had the agent created through the MCP server for the first demo that started off this video. And then if I go over to knowledge, you can actually see in tools, these two tool calls were linked to it. And when these tools are called, they basically go ahead and, as I mentioned, hit our Convex endpoint, right? And that is how it's able to make changes to our actual database, right? And again, if you want to be even more secure about it, you can go ahead and actually have authentication and bearer tokens as well. So that way you can go ahead and verify that and make sure they came from a trusted place. And now, of course, this is amazing. We've literally used agents to go ahead and build agents that can work for us. However, What about if you want to go ahead and actually deploy this? In this case, even a dentist has sensitive documents, right? You might not want all of this information going through a public LLM. So what do you do? And that's really where Bland AI sets apart from the rest, because whether it be something like a medical profession or whether it be something like a legal, you want to have everything in-house a lot of the time. So you can actually go ahead and check out, if you head over to the billing side, I'm actually on an enterprise plan right now. You can actually go ahead and contact the enterprise team and they can get the entire Bland setup self-hosted. So you get everything that we showed today, but all completely self-hosted. And that way you can safely have these features and the power of everything that we did today, but in-house, secure, making sure that that data isn't exposed or leaked out elsewhere. So overall, I've been pretty damn impressed with this. And it's worth mentioning as well, they have extra monitoring features. So obviously, as your agents are basically taking calls in, you want to see what is going on. So you can actually see all the analytics, the cost breakdown. And I've already done 108 calls with this, and it's only cost me $9. Which if you think about it in terms of an actual receptionist and a salary, it's going to be way cheaper than actually having that, right? And then of course you've got alerts if things go wrong, call logs, and you can actually play back certain call logs as well. And then you've even got triage, where basically if our agent determines like we need follow-up tasks and so forth or callbacks, you can even have things be triaged over here. Right, and that's not to mention things like compliance and everything else. You can feel free to check this out yourself using the first link down below in the description. And yeah, more curiously, I'd be wondering, what would you be using this for? So let me know down below by leaving a comment. And of course, if you found this cool, leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I personally am going to be using this in one of my own ventures as well. So I'm curious as well if you guys will too. As always, it's your boy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.